So here we have a perfect example of an incredibly wordy question. It's only about percentages, so it's not actually going to be difficult mathematically. What we need to figure out is what the question's actually asking us from the information it gives us. So starting reading from over here, we've got different European political parties and they're proposing changing the rules for income tax payments for a future financial year. So we're going to be doing some sort of tax. We're going to be doing one calculation for this proposal, one calculation for that proposal, and then we've got to figure out if you've got somebody's likely gross income of 55,000, which one is going to be better. So let's look at the yellow party first, and we'll read it really carefully. It starts off with a formula for taxable income, so we'll definitely highlight that because that's probably going to be useful. Okay, so we work out the taxable income by doing the gross income, and that word appears down here, so we know that the gross income is 55,000, and we have to subtract the personal allowance, and the personal allowance is 5,000 euros there. Okay, then once we've worked out the taxable income, we're then going to do 10% of the first 10,000 of the taxable income. So not of the total gross income, this specifically says the taxable income. Okay, so that's the next bit sorted. Then we go up to the middle rate, and on the middle bit we have to pay 25% tax, and that's payable on the taxable income, but only the income which is over 10,000 and up to 30,000. So we ignore the first 10,000 because we've already dealt with that. We'll deal with that after differently with the middle rate. Finally, we've got a higher rate tax of 50%, and that's payable on the taxable income over 30,000 euros. So we need to do only what is more than 30,000 euros for that of the taxable income. So first step is actually to work out this taxable income itself, because that appears several times. So the taxable income that's going to be the gross income 55,000 minus the personal allowance, which it tells us is 5,000, and that's going to give us 50,000 euros as our taxable income. Right, now I go to my next bullet point. So basic rate. So the basic rate says I've got to do 10% on the first 10,000. Okay, so I can clearly see here that my taxable income is over 50,000, so I'm definitely going to use 10,000 here. So 10,000 times 10%, and that gives me 1,000 euros as my taxable income here. Sorry, as my basic rate. Right, then we go up to the middle rate. And here I've got to look at the taxable income over 10,000 and up to 30,000. Again, if I look back to my taxable income, it definitely goes up to 30,000. So I'm going to do from 10,000 to 30,000. And obviously that range is 20,000 wide. So I'm paying on 20,000 the next bit up. So I'm doing 20,000 times by 25. And this time that's going to give me 5,000 euros. Okay, so that's our middle rate. Finally, we're going to look at the higher rate. So I've already gone up to 30,000 euros of my taxable income. So now, if I've done up to 30,000, I've got 20,000 euros left, which I need to do at the higher rate. So now I've got 20,000 times by 50%, and that gives me 10,000 euros. So I now have all of my tax figures. I've paid this much because of basic rate, this much because of the middle rate, and this much because of the higher rate. So I've just got to add it all together. So then I've got total tax is going to be equal to my 1,000, 5,000 and 10,000 added all together. So that gives me a total of 16,000 euros, which would have to be paid in tax. The question says that we've got to compare the yellow party and the orange party. We're going to do exactly the same thing with the orange party now. Okay, so this time we're going to look at the orange party. We are doing taxable income first, because it might change. So gross income is 55,000 minus the new personal allowance, which is 10,000. So with this party, our taxable income is only 45,000. Okay, so we'll need this figure again, we know. Basic rate. This time we're paying 20% at basic rate, and we're paying that on the first 20,000 euros. So 20% of 20,000 is going to be 4,000 euros. Then there's no middle rate for the orange party, we go straight up to the higher rate, and that's paid on all the other taxable income. So we've gone up to 20,000, but in total we had 45,000 taxable income. So I've got 25,000 that I haven't paid tax on yet, so that's going to be at the higher rate. So 25,000 times by 40% comes out to be 10,000 euros. So altogether, that's going to give us a total tax of 14,000 euros. If we just quickly go back to the question then, the final question itself says which party's tax proposal would result in her paying the least tax, and importantly it says by how much. So we've got to actually give a figure at the end here too. So we know that from the previous question, the yellow party had a tax rate of 16,000. So we can see here we want to pay as little tax as possible, because tax is what goes to the government, we don't see any of it. So we're going to want the least amount of tax, so we're going to say the orange party. And if we compare the two figures, it's 14,000 compared to 16,000. So the difference is 2,000 euros.